your time to shine. Hey everybody, we're back and I have today Leah. Leah is an energy healer, a spiritual coach with deep connection to the unseen world. She has had over 6 years of meditative experience studying a massive amount of topics from energy manipulation to communicating with spirits. She shares on her podcast, Starseed Imparts, her experiences, her trial and errors, and her guidance in everything spiritual. Leah, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So we met recently, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
We met at the Mind Body Spirit Expo, and that was really interesting. Rob, can you put this on silent? I'm sorry, I forgot. So we met at the Mind Body Spirit Expo, and what happened was I passed by your table, and there was a word on there, and I now know it's called I'm sorry, what's the name of it?
Johrei?
Johrei, yes. Yes. I was like, what the heck is Johrei? So that really interested me, and that's why
I think that's exactly when I kind of jumped in and I was like, hey, try this.
Right, yeah. I was like, I need to know what this is. And so I came to you, and you were so nice and gracious and kind of, told me like what you do and stuff like that. So, tell us, what do you do? What is Johrei?
So Johrei is a type of energy healing that I learned recently. So for the past few years, I've been teaching myself my own kind of technique. And with my technique, I connect to people's chakra systems. Making a connection from my energetic body to somebody else's, there has to be some sort of feeling that I kind of clutch onto.
Sure.
So by doing Johrei, I actually met my group Shumei at Mind Body Spirit in November. And I experienced Johrei for the first time, and I've done Reiki before and didn't feel anything. So when I did this and I actually felt something, I was like, oh, this can really help me be able to connect into people's fields better. So I immediately took classes and got certified in January to do Johrei. So Johrei is a little bit different. So with my technique, I connect to people's chakra systems and then kind of remove things from there, and then I'll send light on top of it. But with Johrei, it's all light energy healing, and it's specifically directed at the third eye chakra and the crown chakra.
Okay. Why do you focus on those two chakras?
So those are the chakras of intuition and your connection to divine source.
Yep.
So divine source, it differs for everyone. It could be what some people call God, some people call light, some people call the universe. So by sending light energy to those two chakras, it intuitively sends that light where it needs to go in your body to heal you properly.
Okay. So now my understanding, and I have limited understanding, Johrei was founded by Meishu-sama?
Meishu-sama, yes.
Say it again?
Meishu-sama.
Meishu-sama.
Yes.
Okay.
Master of Light is what it translates
Master
to.
of Light, yes. And he, the little bit I know about him, because I looked into it a little bit, he was like a sickly child.
Yes.
And he was kind of introverted, right? An introvert. And he spent a lot of his time kind of studying, reading. And because he was a sickly child, he wanted to help people when he grew up. And he had a lot of empathy for people that were sick or that experienced suffering in some way. And I think what happened was he had a shop this was in Japan, and there was an earthquake that destroyed his shop, and he lost his wife and his children.
Yes.
He remarried, and he had more children, but he wasn't able to practice any kind of spirituality because communist Japan, religion was forbidden. But after World War II, he took his practice and became more spiritual.
Yeah, he kind of went through lots of misfortune in life, starting with being a sickly child and then It seemed like every time he got a little bit ahead in life, something would happen and he would be pushed back down. So he really was not a religious or spiritual man at first, until he started connecting more inwardly, and then he started connecting with a deity called Canon.
Oh, okay. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, Canon, he started to get psychic visions and downloads from this deity, teaching him how to heal the collective and heal himself.
Oh, I did not come across that in my reading of him. That's really interesting.
He actually went to the same school as the founder of Reiki.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Now, was he? So he was he started out as a student of Reiki.
No, they both learned different energy manipulation techniques, and then they kind of both took their own paths with it. So with Reiki, it's more you use the moon energy, and with Johrei, you use the sun energy. So it's still energy healing, but you use two different kind of methods to clear any blockages, and then with the light you refill it afterwards.
When you say that they went to school together, do you mean like a regular school, or do you mean like some spiritual school?
I believe it was
like
kind of in between. They did kind of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that he was channeling a divine being.
Yes.
So it called itself Canon?
Yes.
Okay.
And people, while he was making his different organizations and moving around, anyone that started to follow him and follow his different messages and teachings, because Johrei is just one principle of the group. The other principles are like a deep relationship with nature and agriculture, and then also connection with beauty and art. So
yeah, I came across that a little bit. That he really promoted the idea of not taking so much medicine because of the toxins in medicine.
Yes.
And eating natural foods, not manufactured artificial foods and stuff like that. So yeah, that was great. There's a lot of Johrei testimonials, these beautiful testimonials, and one of them that stuck out to me was everything okay?
Oh yeah, I was wondering, could you move your mic a little closer to you?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
We good?
Yeah, we should be good. Yeah.
One of the testimonials that I found really beautiful was it was a couple, a husband and wife, and this was during COVID. So everything's on lockdown, and the husband, like, he was really sick. He couldn't hold down any food. I mean, his organs were shutting down, and the wife actually knew a Johrei practitioner, and so because of COVID, they didn't really want him to go inside the house, but he said, well, I could do healing from the driveway.
Yes.
And that's what he did. And literally that night, the wife gave him some tea, and for the first time in a long time, he was able to hold down the tea. And then little by little after that, he got better. And there's a bunch of other testimonials like that. It's so it's correct me if I'm wrong. It's the idea that you're harnessing the power of lights to heal.
Yeah, you kind of are a vessel almost.
Okay.
So to become a Johrei practitioner, you have to take some classes, and then you also, when you officially get certified, you get an ohikari, which is an amulet of light that you wear around your neck.
Okay.
Inside the ohikari, there's calligraphy. And that calligraphy is infused with Meishu Sama's energy. So by wearing that, he eventually merged with Canon.
Oh, okay.
So anyone that could see him would also see this being behind him.
Interesting.
Yes.
Have you talked to anybody that actually had an experience with Canon?
I have not, no.
No. That's the next level.
Yeah.
When you do, you have to come back on a show.
I've talked to other beings and deities, not that one.
What other beings have you talked to?
I've been in contact with some alien beings.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. That's been interesting. That's more of a new development. My co-host Christine is very tapped into all different sorts of dimensions and beings, and we get lots of psychic downloaded messages.
Before I ask you about the
Mhm.
messages, how did that start? Your communication with other beings. When did it start? How did it start?
Mm-hmm. Ever since I was a kid, I was very sensitive to like a spiritual realm.
Sure.
So I remember there's so many times where I would like see or sense ghosts and I would get super scared.
Yeah.
So I think just being naturally sensitive kind of was my way. However, I got so scared that I kind of closed all the gates off to that other side. Like I would still like sense it, but I would be like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's not around me. So it wasn't until like I really started my healing journey that I opened the gates back up. And then once I did, it was mainly like passed away family members that I like saw mediums to go communicate with.
Yeah.
That would come through at first, but then as it went on, I got to meet some of my spirit team. Some people call them guardian angels.
It's always that fear that closes us up when we're kids, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if only
And for good reason. There's
you
been
think so?
some
It's for good-
bad
Okay.
spirits.
Okay. Yeah. But well, I wish we lived in a culture where it kind of the promoting is not the right word, but what's the word I'm trying to look for? Where it's like it helped people, that help kids that have those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying all the time it's your imagination. I mean, I wouldn't say, say, oh yeah, you're actually seeing something, but at least like something in the middle, like
Yeah.
hey, it could be something, but imagination is also a real thing, But you make a good point that a lot of times, I guess, malevolent beings could come through.
Yes.
So you don't want to be too open then.
Yeah, you got to be
Especially
real
when you're a kid.
careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was not careful at first, and I lived in a really haunted house, so there was already negative spirits there. So I kind of forcefully learned how to navigate if something is of light and love, or if it's something more not even harmful, because not all negative spirits come through as harmful, but just not supposed to be around.
That's a really good point that you make, that not all negative spirits are harmful.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ones that are like, it's their role to actually, do something to you. And then for others, it's like the ones that are not actually harmful, but they're negative. What do they do? What's their role?
It kind of depends. I would say a lot of the spirits that I've ran into that have been negative but not harmful, were just passed away humans.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they basically they died sad or
Yeah,
like
they
that.
would just
Okay.
kind of be lingering. I would notice a lot of the ones with I lived on top of a mental insane asylum.
Oh, did you really?
Mass grave, so that's why my house was super haunted.
Oh, you told me you lived in the Dunning area.
Yes.
And actually, what's funny? Before our last guest was a mutual friend of Mike and Rob's and mine, Anthony. And I think I told you when we met that Anthony lived in Dunning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you lived right in the heart of and all that ghostly mess.
Yeah, lots of spooky stuff.
Yeah, I think we talked about, or I mentioned to you briefly that jewel right there that's in Dunning is allegedly a haunted jewel, and I'm sure a lot of the apartments there and
Oh yeah, I worked in so many of the buildings over there, and I had friends all over the place over there, and so yeah, I would say there hasn't been a single place in that neighborhood that I don't get a little creeped out by.
I mean, could you imagine okay, if somebody is mentally ill or they die in a psychiatric ward, I mean, their spirits probably wouldn't know where to go, or so they would be lingering around.
Mm-hmm.
So I could imagine that whole neighborhood is just it's just heavy energy.
It's very heavy, yeah.
Which is interesting because it's not a bad neighborhood, is it?
It's not terrible, no. It's changed a lot, but it's still pretty decent.
Was there ever a time that it was a bad neighborhood?
No.
Yeah, I didn't
believe
think so.
No.
So, well, that's good because there's bad neighborhoods in Chicago where a lot of people die, but you could probably attribute the badness to some spiritual thing going on, but some places you can't, like Dunning. It's not that. Maybe it's because they didn't die violently; they just died and were very confused in life because of their illness?
Well, some of them did die pretty violently. Since I did all this research on it back in high school because I was like, why is everywhere over here seem like messed up in some way?
Yeah.
So I did a whole bunch of research and I found out about the asylum, and parents used to tell their kids to kind of scare them, like, you better behave or else you're going to Dunning. So I found out that they were experimenting on patients there.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of it was very inhumane since it was the 20s.
Yeah.
And then they were just dumping the bodies right outside. So on top of them already, mental health standards were different back then. So I don't know if everyone there actually had mental health issues or if there was some other societal issues that forced people there.
Yeah.
But they're already kind of going through issues. And on top of that, they were probably being poked and prodded and didn't have a good stay. So I can imagine how that can create some anger.
Yeah. You're right. I actually do know that not everybody there was like mentally ill. There was a famous Chicago swindler, a financial swindler named Johann Hack. Mm-hmm. He was a German immigrant, and he married, oh gosh, the number is like over 30 women. He would just marry them for their money, and then he would either leave them, and we know for at least a couple of them that he would poison them. There's a story where on his wife's deathbed, she's literally dying in her bed, and it's him and her sister. So as she's dying, he turns to his sister and proposes to her, and she says yes.
Oh my God!
So and then he takes her money. We know that he actually ended up in a Dunning asylum, and he wasn't. I mean, he was not a good person, but not particularly insane. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, that was a good point you made. Yeah, so I would imagine all those spirits are just like kind of wandering around and stuff.
In our house specifically too, there was some bad human spirits, there was some good human spirits, there was some animal spirits, and then there was some other being type things that I don't know how to classify. So there was just a lot. It was like a portal almost.
Yeah. Portal in your house?
Yeah. We had a lot of the city houses with the basements, they put drains in the floor. Water is very conductive of spirits and stuff. So I think that might have been part of it. We had lots of flooding incidences too. Just I think there's so many factors that go into why that area and my house specifically was very haunted.
So you were able to pick this stuff up when you were in grammar school. You kind of closed it off. But around what time did you kind of start to open up to these things?
I would say it never fully closed itself off because at first I didn't know what to do and how to protect myself. So it would kind of, even though I wasn't seeing and sensing things and knowing there's something else in this room with me right now, I would still get terrible nightmares. I had insomnia most of high school, and I was on lots of medication, and nothing really worked itself out with that. So I would say, I think around the end of high school and beginning of college, that's when I really tried to open myself up more, but at first all I experienced were negative trickster spirits.
Okay.
So it was kind of a lot to kind of mull through at first, especially when I was still in Chicago.
Yeah.
Because doing any sort of spiritual work, it's like you're making like a beacon of light, and anything can see it. So the more I practiced my self-growth, the more was attracted to me. And especially when you're surrounded by so much darkness, it was like moths going to the light almost.
Yeah, I bet if we looked at a spiritual map of Chicago, it's mostly just darkness.
It is.
So.
Chicago has really dark history.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does. Definitely. I do tours on Chicago history, so I'm a little bit familiar with it. Before we were recording, you did something with this. Can you explain to us? Actually, can you give us a demonstration and then let us know what that is?
This is just a sound cleansing bowl. Everything is basically, to put this in like the simplest of terms, everything is made out of energy, including frequencies. So this table is vibrating at a frequency right now, even though you don't hear it technically.
Sure.
So this bowl has a frequency that clears the space of any energies and entities that come through. And I also have this bowl set with the intention of clearing my own chakras as well.
Well, you know what? We need that here because these guys are always distracting me. So we need some cleansing. Can you give us a little demonstration?
Yeah, for sure. You have to hold it with an open palm.
Open palm, okay. This is like ASMR. Yeah. That's awesome. How often do you do that?
I usually do it every time before I film.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I brought it with me today as like something familiar, I guess.
Sure.
But there's many different ways of cleansing. I do like doing sound cleansing a lot. So I would say I probably hit this maybe once a day in my space. But
Okay.
I usually have, even when I'm out of the house, I'll put YouTube on for my pets, and I'll put on some sort of frequency music for them.
Now, is this like sacred where only you should touch it?
No,
Or
no.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, go for
Can,
it.
can I bang
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
This is fun. Oh, actually, you said to put it in the palm of your hand, right?
Yeah, and you want to
Okay.
swirl the stick around to make
All right,
it
let's
bounce off
see.
the walls.
Oh, hold on. I'm not doing it right. What am I doing wrong here?
You have to line up. This has like lines on it. You have to
Yeah.
line up the lines around the bowl.
Oh, there's a
Mhm.
technique here.
There is. And it's better if you hold it from like top down.
Top down.
Yes.
So, okay. Oh. All right. I need practice.
There's a
But-
learning curve.
And then you have sage in here, and can I show the camera? You have sage in here, and what else do you have in here? You have hair.
Yeah, well,
Is-
my dog is shedding a lot right now.
Oh. Is this an ear I see? What the heck? No.
Couple fingers in there.
Is this a fetus? No.
It's a fire safe bowl, so I just light my sage in there and walk around with it. And then my dog just happens to be shedding, and I keep this in the living room, so
Okay.
his hair is just in it.
It's just to catch all the dog hair.
Yes.
Well, that's good. I mean, maybe it'll bring, your dog like luck or.
I feel like
So-
he's a big protector of mine
Okay.
too, so I feel like he's with me right now.
I gotta know what kind of dog.
I have 2 German Shepherds.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
do animals have a spirit?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. There's actually, I was just watching this video on TikTok, and they use some sort of specialized camera to watch people's auras, and they had people just kind of sit, then they had people meditate, then they had people like with their pets come in, and then they just had like nature of like water flowing, and you could see like the aura around it moving with the people. The people. But yeah, especially pets, like there's a reason why people love their pets so much.
Yeah.
Almost every person, when they sit with their pets, their aura turns pink,
Mhm.
and that's like love and all
Oh, that's
those good
awesome.
happy feelings.
That's awesome. So all those dead goldfish I had, they're around me, right?
Yes, for sure.
Good. Good. Tom and Gary, and they're protecting me. So you communicate with all these spirits.
Yes.
And when you communicate with them, what's that dialogue like? What's the communication like? Are you hearing them, or are you just kind of feeling impressions?
It really varies, especially in the beginning of my journey, since I was very like scared of like connection. I really focused just going more inwards, and I think that's kind of how I ended up on like the healer path as well, as I'm just so much more comfortable going in with myself than looking outwardly. So it started very much, I feel things a lot, so I wouldn't necessarily see things at first. But I would just feel like, when somebody's looking at you and you could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be kind of something like that where I could feel like something was watching me, or I would turn the corner and like a shadow would follow almost.
Okay.
Yeah. I would have lots of like nightmares too of like being in my house. So I would get like, at the time I didn't realize it was like signed from my spirit team, but I would get recalls of like these dreams or just things that I didn't think had any relevance when I was in those specific parts of the house. And it was kind of my spirit team showing me like, these are the areas where there's some bad energy. Maybe you don't want to be over there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the house that you grew up in. How are things now?
We moved about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I felt like it was kind of crazy because I kind of knew when you're on like this spiritual journey, you hit peaks almost, and then you kind of stay at that, and there's something you have to do to get to the next level almost. So I felt like I was pretty stagnant in the old house, and I knew we were going to be moving after my dad retired. So I was waiting for that. I got to tour the new house, and I could tell there was no ghosts there.
Yeah.
So,
and so you brought them.
Oh, no. No.
Well,
my dad brought some.
Oh,
that's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone has, like, beings, ghosts, whatever,
like
attached to
team,
them.
Right?
Yeah. You have your spirit team, then you have other connections that are just made as well. So my dad used to be a police officer. With his line of work, he had lots of negativity.
Sure, yeah.
It's still like it's kind of on him, and I'm still working on clearing that out. But yeah, just the house itself had nothing in it, so I felt a lot more confident moving. And that's when everything really started to pop off, I guess, where I started to see more and hear more. I still feel the strongest, but now I get just flashes of different things, either in my eyes, ears. Sometimes I get smells too, which is always like really trippy for me for some reason. Yeah.
What's that called? Clairsentience, or it's a specific type of psychic ability where you could smell things. But what is it like spiritually leaving Chicago, and now you're in the suburbs now, correct?
Yes.
So what's that like spiritually? Like kind of the spiritual aura of the place.
I think it's a lot, at least the suburb that I moved to is a lot like slower, calmer.
Yeah.
I felt like in the city it was very dark, heavy, fast, chaotic, and now I'm kind of in the exact opposite where it's slow and peaceful, and I'm still like, I live close to the airport, so there's still like some of the similar noises as when I lived in the city, but it's just a whole different vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've had these experiences your entire life, but it's only been like, am I correct, a couple years? Because you mentioned this on the podcast. The recently, where you like really delved into everything. You started the podcast really recently.
Yes.
And then you met your friend and mentor recently. So like things have been really kicking off for you.
Yeah. Ever since we moved, really.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it has to do with the move?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The spirits in my old house. Actually, the first time I ever went to see a psychic, I had lost my grandfather in middle school, and I had just lost one of my best friends in high school. Okay. So I really wanted to see this medium to see if there was anything they wanted to tell me that they weren't able to, or anything I could express to them. And this lady, I didn't get any sort of medium reading this entire time. She told me that I was like very much in danger because of the spirits in my house. And that's kind of what kicked off going more into spirituality, because she told me I need to protect myself. I need to get some crystals. I need to burn some sage. Yeah. Set kind of like my sacred space within my house, and try to keep everything at bay until I do have the opportunity to get out.
Now, and you've had a couple near-death experiences, correct?
Yeah.
So, where do I even begin with this? Because there's so much to unpack with what you told me when we met. You said that you've had several.
Yeah.
And like, how did you why did you have several? Like, what were you doing?
There's two classifications of this, I will say. There's
Okay.
ones where it was like I didn't actually get any sort of physical harm, but it was just the adrenaline rush of almost getting harmed that
Mhm.
like I would have some sort of like sense come over me almost. And then there's the ones where I actually was really close and physically in not a great shape. So I will say with the ones that I got close and saw like some kind of flash almost, not like a light, just kind of you know how almost like in movies when everything goes silent and the main characters kind of slowly and yeah, I felt like I was in slow motion and everything like was on me in the moment.
Well, what were you doing that? Like,
Oh, there's so many. I almost got struck by lightning.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where was this at?
This was in Graceland. I was visiting Elvis Presley's house.
Okay.
Yeah. I almost got struck by lightning. I got pushed out of the way like last minute.
Are you a big Elvis fan?
I used to be, yeah.
There,
Since the lightning.
there is a Chicago author that recently just came out with a book with Elvis and the occult.
Mhm.
Elvis's connections with the occult. And I actually want to reach out to him and see if he wants to be on a podcast. But you were in Graceland. You almost got struck by lightning.
Yes.
So you obviously you were outside. How far did the lightning hit from you?
It was like a foot away.
Did that ever happen before?
No.
You know, in Illinois, in Elgin, there was a family in the 1800s called the Olson family,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the brothers got struck by lightning while he was inside a house.
Oh my
and
God.
then about a year later, his brother got struck by lightning and died. And then from then on, several family members down the generations had near misses with lightning. So
That's so
yeah,
funny
it's-
how that
yeah.
works out like that.
and
It gets ingrained in like your generational traumas, I think.
oh yeah, definitely. Actually, yeah, because they do talk about the family members talk about that they're very scared
Mm-hmm.
about lightning. Well, what do you think that was? What happened to you? Like, why did it?
You know, that's just one of many too. I almost fell off a cliff at Starved Rock.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I'll be there next month.
Good luck.
I won't go
Don't
by
slip
any
and
cliffs.
fall.
No, I won't.
Maybe I'll catch you on it.
So how did you? What you were just messing around by the edge or what?
I was walking up kind of the hill and it was January, and so it was snowy out and I slipped and there was no railing. So my mom actually catched me last minute.
Wow. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Or else we wouldn't be able to interview her. For the audience, Leah's mom is here. So.
Yes.
And okay, what's another time you had a near-death incident?
So one that I actually did get some physical harm from it. So I will say with communicating with spirits and not really knowing what I was doing at first, not knowing how to put those barriers up. So even though I was really scared and I was getting the nightmares and stuff, I still wasn't protected. So I struggled with lots of mental health issues myself growing up. And still do. It's always like a work in progress,
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
So I went through really bad bouts of depression.
Okay.
So one of my near-death experiences was overdosing on Benadryl.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was, I don't know if you've ever seen any of like the videos on TikTok about that. It's notorious for being a very bad trip.
The
basically.
Hat Man. This guy right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea.
Which I'm very
that,
familiar with the Hat Man as well.
So you took a lot of Benadryl, and hold on. When you took the Benadryl, did you experience Hat Man?
Not Hat Man. I did hallucinate quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you take all this Benadryl because you were just so depressed and you wanted to?
Yeah,
end
I had
everything?
many attempts throughout my life.
Oh no. oh God.
We're better from there
Okay,
now. Yeah.
good.
No, this is more before I started protecting and
Yeah.
trying to figure stuff out internally. So this is when everything was really scary and I had all these bad spirits around me and I didn't know how much they were influencing everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I had some really crazy visuals, but I will say every time I've had these near-death experiences or, last-minute saves, I guess, the feeling I overgot was just like, it was that slow motion, but it was also just this overwhelming feeling of calm and peaceness would wash over me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never really, even though I had these experiences, I never really feared death itself.
Okay. Well, where does the depression come from? Is it spiritual, or is it just more earthly stuff?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Since I am specialized in like the chakra system, when I was first really going inwardly, I focused on my depression mainly, and I noticed a lot of my depression was stored in my throat chakra. And it makes kind of sense, at least for me. Mm-hmm. When you think of depression, people say you're feeling blue. The throat chakra is blue.
That's interesting.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, and like it has like different experiences are multifaceted, so it's not like one experience is always going to make you just feel depression. So there could be like different traumas that live different places in the body.
Okay.
But I felt a majority of it was in my throat.
Is the idea that it's in your throat because you can't vocalize things?
I think so.
Okay.
I think, I tried to vocalize some things as a kid. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time I ever saw a spirit, I saw this like black shadowy figure man running in the hallway across to our bathroom. And I was the only one at the table faced towards that corner, and I started screaming because we were like getting ready for school in the morning and whatnot. Yeah. And I think like as I just got older, I think this happens with a lot of people too, because I believe everyone has these abilities. They're just in you and lying dormant until you start to unleash them. And everyone has their own specialty, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
So when I started to kind of work on my depression, I found it in my throat, and now that most of my depression feels manageable, I've been working a lot on my anxiety. Mm-hmm. My anxiety has not been like my depression. It is mostly in my stomach, but I've noticed like depending on the trigger, if it's something more like monetary, I'll feel almost like a knot in my root chakra then, because a lot of your security and stability comes from that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that would make sense, right? Because you feel butterflies, or you feel like a knot in your stomach. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's so you're a lot better than where you were before.
Yes.
But you're still in the process of healing.
Yeah, I don't think healing ever stops really. Because even on a daily basis, things can come up that can trigger you, and it can like, even if you previously cleared a knot, I guess, it can like kind of recoil back up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that, actually, let me rephrase that. It seems like some of the things that you're doing to help yourself is you're helping others.
Yes.
When I saw you at Mind Body Spirit Expo, there's only so many places you could walk around. So I kept like going by your table, and you're always with another client.
Yes.
And it was like over and over.
Yeah, it was insane.
it was a lot. Was that the first time you were at something like that?
Yes, it was, actually.
So that was your first time, and you had that many clients.
Yeah, I was so shocked. My senseis were shocked too, because they said they were just in LA and they had like half the crowd. So they were all shocked too, but I'm like, I'm typically, in the past would describe myself as pretty shy, but when it comes to something I'm passionate about, like energy healing and helping other people, I'm out there and doing what I need to be doing. So anytime somebody came up to the booth, I would just start talking to them, and I was like, it's free. I'll let you come and just experience this moment of bliss. And then everyone pretty much said yes to me. So
yeah, that's great. You're healing a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has to impact yourself on a spiritual level.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right?
It's very draining. Yeah. For the whole week after those 2 days at the convention, I felt insane and tired, and like it's like a tiredness that doesn't really go away. in a sense, because I was still sleeping. But it's just the constant activation of connecting to a higher source and then sending that out to somebody else and having them be opening themselves up to receiving it, and then also kind of sending it where it needs to go. It's a lot of steps involved.
Right. But it's okay. So it's draining. You get tired, but like there has to be some sort of rewards.
There is.
Yeah.
So I would say besides, I guess the exhaustion comes with me being able to connect to other people's energetic fields. So not everyone that practices has that ability to connect to somebody on an energetic level like that. Right. So I kind of envision like an invisible cord that connects me to the person I'm working with. Okay. And from there I can feel kind of where those pains are. So a lot of the people I saw at the convention, after their session, I was like, oh, I felt some pain on this side. What's going on there? And some people told me they got like ovarian cysts and stuff. And I was like, oh, no wonder I felt that.
When we were there, my buddy Rob and I, we had a, what would you call a session with? Yeah, we had a session. I had one with you. Rob had one with the other gentleman that was there.
Yes.
And afterwards, Rob and I, we kind of went to each other like, did you feel anything? And at first we said, well, no, not really. But, it was an interesting experience anyway. But then I forgot which one it was, either me or Rob, but one of us said like, well, I did feel like a heat.
Yeah.
Like on.
That was me. It was like in
Yeah, that was me. It was like the top right of my head. I was feeling something.
Yeah, and then right, and so you told me that, and then I said, like, I felt heat like on one side of my face.
Yes. And
then because I'm not a skeptic at all. I'm what do you say? I question a lot.
Yes.
I question,
as you should.
Right.
Yes.
I like to say I'm a believer, but you have to have a level of skepticism.
Yeah.
So I kind of, when I told Rob that, like, yeah, there was like this heat on my face, I said to myself, or I said to him, like, maybe it was just, in my head. And I don't know, maybe it was, but maybe it really was,
a lot of people experience heat when they do it.
And I've heard that, like, even with Reiki,
yes,
people will experience heat. And so, yeah, maybe you really did something there and did some sort of healing on me, which I could use. So I appreciate that if,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
that was an experience. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, and I won't say all of my spiritual practices, I know sometimes I can be kind of out there, and I never put my foot down 100% on something. But just based on my experiences and what I feel in myself, and what I can feel in other people, I think nothing's stronger than that. So I always trust that.
Yeah.
And I will say too, when I'm healing other people, I'm also getting the benefits of Johrei myself, or my technique as well. We're all part of like a collective consciousness in a sense.
Sure.
So if you're healing yourself, you're also healing the collective.
I would imagine that you would experience it too, because if it's going through you into the other person, you have to experience some sort of healing as well.
Yes.
So, right now you said that like you're sometimes out there with that. Well, I think you need to be, right?
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about subjects that are, they're far-fetched.
They are, yeah.
They're far-fetched. And like, I'm in the paranormal field, and even spiritual topics like Johrei. Johrei, I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay.
Johrei. One day I'll get it right. Spiritual topics like Johrei are even like kind of outside of what I deal with, but it's fascinating. And I experienced something. I experienced heat, so there has to be something to it, right? There needs to be, and so we need people like yourself that are kind of like on the fringe of society, or on the fringe of the paranormal, that are out there healing people. And even if somebody's like, well, that's a little too, but like, so that's awesome. And I'm really glad you're doing it. There was an energy around you when I approached your table. You were like just super nice. You were just like really like, I don't know. It was just like very, it was. I don't have a word, but I'm not smart enough.
I'm
Angelic.
an enigma.
Yeah, there you go. Sure. No, it was great though. And now you're doing a podcast.
Yes.
So what's your podcast about? And what is Starseed Imparts?
Yes.
So yeah, what do you guys do?
So I'll start with the name. Starseed Imparts was my idea.
Okay.
Me and Christine both believe we are star seeds. So the basis of this is believing in reincarnation. The thing that takes it, I guess, the step further is being a star seed specifically is belief that you've had past lives as different sort of beings and aliens.
Okay.
And this is how I started my communication with other beings outside of spirits as well.
How? Like
Just like deep meditation
okay.
practices. Yeah.
And then they would come to you.
Yes.
And you started to realize that you were a starseed?
Yes. Yeah, I started to get really pulled to looking at the stars at night, and then I would pick out specific constellations and look at specific stars. Whatever one I felt drawn to, I looked it up, and it was the Sirius system.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Sirian star seeds are, there's a lot of them out there, but I started looking at my life and how Sirian star seeds are, how their attributes come out in human form, I guess. I went to school for computer science.
Okay.
So I know how to code and everything. And people, even within my energy healing group, they're like, how are you like so scientific, analytical on one side, but then you do like such creative out there things on the other side? And I'm like, I don't know, but both of them, it's like I use both sides of my brain in that aspect.
That's awesome. there is an 18th century mystic, Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a scientist and inventor, and when he turned I think 56 years old, he go ahead, Rob. What do you got to say?
I just wanted to say thanks for the shout out to him. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Jack, what have you done?
I know. So the backstory to that is Rob and we really delved into Emanuel Swedenborg, and like Rob is basically a follower of Swedenborgian, as they call him. So that's why it was like funny and stuff. But yeah, so Emanuel Swedenborg was he was an 18th century mystic and scientist, and he had all these inventions. And when he turned 56 years old, he would start having visions of Christ and angels, and he became he's basically unintentionally he founded a branch of Christianity that he called it true Christianity, but his followers called it Swedenborgianism after him.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm sorry, I am connecting that to what you said, that you majored in computer science, and then you're also very spiritual. That's awesome. I love those kind of connections.
Yeah.
And I think they're important too, because it kind of like it's one foot on the ground and then another foot like in another dimension.
Yes, for sure.
So
and that's literally the chakra system too. Like your heart is like the middle ground, which connects the spiritual upper chakras and the physical lower chakras. So anything below the heart is more of like about your human experience. Anything above the heart is more about your connection above.
Next time I have you on, because you're going to come back on, we got to talk about chakras, because you know a lot about chakras.
Yes.
And I find chakras very fascinating. So your past life was on Sirius.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I started to do a meditation outside, focusing on the Sirius planet system. And that's when I started to get lots of, me and Christine like to call them downloads. It's basically anything that you see in your mind's eye, so your third eye. So I focus on my pineal gland, and then I also focus on my crown chakra to ensure that I'm getting only beings of light love that will help me on my journey.
Okay.
So there's always like a protective barrier that gets set up that I, again, just want to mention just in case. Never know what people are going to try out there.
Right.
So there has to be that layer of protection. But yeah, I started to see things in my mind's eye of like these blue-looking beings.
Is that their color? They're blue?
Yes.
Do you have any memories of what that life was like?
Not too much.
Just flashes.
I've done some other past life regressions, and I've seen previous like human lives as
Okay.
well.
How many lives do you think you have?
Everyone has sizable amount.
Yeah.
This is something where I always question, since we're all interconnected, what separates my being from somebody else's being. And I know different frequencies and energies can influence other people's. So if I'm like super zen and happy, that there's an energy transfer between us. So you could start to get that super zen happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I still question because I'm not sure exactly.
Oh, reincarnation, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many I've had, how many other people typically have, and
I hope you're wrong and this is my only life because I'm done. This is it, man. But so you've had a past life in another. Do you think besides Sirius, you've been in other planetary systems?
I do. As of recently, I had this other experience where I envisioned there was kind of 3 holes on my forehead and some, I guess, antenna out of my head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was very kind of out there where I was like, I could feel them, like the antenna kind of moving off the top of my forehead, and I was like, this is kind of interesting. And whatever was on my forehead, the dots, it felt like I had 3 third eyes, but they were also connected to my nose.
Interesting.
It felt like a very...
It sounds like a sexy alien. Antenna, multiple eyes. I'm liking this. This is a new
What's
fetish.
crazy is after like having this experience, the next time I saw Christine, she looked at me and she was like, whoa, I just saw you with antenna and like 3 dots on your forehead.
Wow.
And she was able
Okay.
to draw it and everything. And I was like, no way. This is what I just experienced.
Let's go back to the podcast. So you came up with the name and
Yes.
then so I'm sorry, I cut you off earlier about
No worries. So Starseeds is alien reincarnations in the past.
Sure.
Imparts is wisdom. So our main goal of the channel was anything and everything spirituality. So right now all of our content has been pretty like educational, trying to guide people. I feel like there needs to be a solid basis. So kind of like guiding people on the big awakening that we've been in since 2025 started, really.
Okay. So I've seen all the episodes of your podcast.
Yes.
And it's fantastic.
Thank you.
For anybody that's watching this, nobody's watching this, but anybody who is,
Everyone is watching this.
you gotta,
Only 5 people.
oh, yeah, not even.
Just us.
Yeah, just us.
Nice.
All the views.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Rewind the intro.
I've seen all the episodes, and I totally see what you're doing. What you just said, you said that you are trying to create a foundation, and I could see that. Your podcast is very structured. You guys
Yes.
actually have notes. You have an outline. Like I'm like, oh, what am I doing wrong? This is a circus here.
Having us work.
No,
Yeah.
trust me, like we look and maybe sound pretty good, but every single time we're like, we make this script and then we're like, we're just going to wing it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's not necessarily true because I've seen you guys look at your notes a lot.
Yeah, we will glance down.
Yeah.
We make like bullet points and we're like, okay, we'll talk about this for however long it goes.
But it's really good because you guys are like, you're imparting, right? You're imparting a lot of spiritual help to
Yes.
people.
It's scary starting.
Yeah.
I think too, like that's what really made me, as you start doing inner work, this is something that really commonly happens for a lot of people. There's like your individual mission, and then there's your community or second double mission. So for myself, I want to heal and love myself fully and show up for myself and do the things that bring me light.
Yeah.
But the more I'm doing that, the more I want my voice to be heard by others so I could help them that are going through the same things. The whole goal is to kind of raise the whole vibration of Earth. And there's been, I don't know how factually accurate this is, but
We'll
when
fact
you
check
get,
it. No, I'm just kidding.
I
Go
saw
ahead.
this somewhere. I was reading. I do lots of reading, but I never actually pay attention to who writes it a lot of the time.
Sure, yeah.
But I read this that when you're holding a higher frequency, especially like in meditation, people at the opposite end of the spectrum, your energy's so high that they are also benefiting from it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the goal is kind of the more people that are holding higher frequencies and going through their awakening, we could kind of guide them down the path. And when things do start to get scary, giving them the resources they might need to get through all the waves that life hits you with.
Well, I think the path that you're on is where you're meant to be, because like I mean, you just started putting yourself out there recently, and a lot of things are clicking for you. I mean, we connected, and that's been awesome. Just like asking you like questions through text and stuff, and having you on here, it's been awesome. So I think you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're gonna keep connecting with other people, and that's gonna be fantastic. That's gonna be awesome. I'm really excited about your future episodes.
We have a lot planned.
Give us a little bit of snippet of what's coming up.
We're going to start doing interviews for sure. We have lots of events planned. So we've been filming at some of our events already. We have more events planned for the future. We have some vacations planned.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're not just going to do like the podcast aspect. We're kind of going to do like some vlogs as well. And kind of sharing with our audience how we communicate with spirits, since there is like the whole foundation of how to get to that point, but then once you're at that point, how do you know what's a sign, what isn't a sign, how does it come through for me, and how does it come through for her? It's very specialized to you, which I think there's lots of misconceptions with spirituality, and I feel like that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I think so too, because spirituality has an identity, has a personality.
Yeah.
So it needs to really fit you.
Yes.
There's not a one size fits all.
Yes.
It's really not like that.
It's a personal practice for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Your co-host Christine. How did you meet up with her?
Actually, we met on Bumble BFF. I had just moved out of the city, and I was looking for friends in the area, and she is like a little bit further still. But we connected on Bumble BFF because she was a nail tech and psychic, and bestie was in her bio, and I was like, I need all of those things. I had been manifesting like a new best friend. I've been manifesting a nail tech, so I was like, this seems like a good person. And I was also manifesting a spiritual mentor.
Yeah.
But once you being like more in tune, some people you can tell just by meeting them if they're in tune or if they're not.
Sure. Yeah.
It's almost like when they look at you, you get a sense that they see through you almost. And I got that sense as soon as I met Christine. I was like, she can see through me. She's the real deal here.
Yeah.
And I think just through our conversations of me visiting her as a client, we just naturally realized that we're kind of very similar to each other.
That's portrayed very well on the podcast, because you guys just bounce off each other. Like,
I swear we're like yin and yang to each other.
You guys are like sisters.
Yeah.
And it's great. I think that's one of the best things about your podcast is like that chemistry that you have with Christine. That's awesome, which we'll eventually have on a podcast too. So yeah, where could people find you?
We're on YouTube right now currently. We just made a TikTok account. I think we're going to make an Insta sometime soon. We just started making shorts, so we're saving a whole bunch of those onto the drafts for now until we can get on a more consistent schedule. And then we also have our personal social medias accounts. So Christine has her nail psychic business. I do energy healing and spiritual coaching. And I also have tarot and oracle readings that I do, but yeah, it kind of depends on.
Do you want people to add you on Instagram as well?
Yeah.
Well, what's your handle? Or?
It's at spooky_snack, but the O's are zeros.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And what about Christine?
Christine is Nail Psychic Christine.
Nail Psychic Christine. Okay. And then we could find you on, you said YouTube?
Yes, YouTube. We're Starseed Imparts.
Okay.
We have a few videos up there. We have a lot of stuff we're planning. On Facebook, we're making events that are going to be coming up soon as well.
I'm super excited about everything that you guys are going to be doing. Like based on what you guys are talking about on a podcast, it seems like you guys are going to do a lot this year and in the future, and it's going to be really exciting. I really wanted you here because I just wanted to talk to you about, oh God, Joe, don't tell me, hold on. Johrei. Joe Rogan, that's it, yes. Johrei.
Johrei.
God.
Think of a dude named Joe, and then Ray as in sunlight.
He's so
Ray.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna forget. Johrei.
Yes.
I really want to know about Johrei because I feel like I'm pretty familiar with various spiritualities and religions. Excuse me, but I've never heard of Johrei, so that was awesome to have you on and talk about that. And then I based on stuff that you said on your podcast, I was really fascinated about your life. So I'm really glad that you were able to come on and talk about that. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Any last minute words or anything?
No, but I think next time I'll have to tell you some of my ghost stories from my old house.
Oh yes, yeah. We're actually gonna get into a lot more the next time you come on. But we got into so much here, and there was more questions I had. But obviously we can't have people don't want to hear me and stuff. They want to hear you, but they don't want to hear me.
They want to hear you too.
No, they don't. These guys don't want to hear me.
If you talk about Swedenborg,
more
Wait, say that again, Rob.
if you talk about Swedenborg more, I'll listen.
more Swedenborg. Okay,
At
Leah,
that point, I
you
think
hear
I'm
that? Next time we're gonna talk all about Swedenborg.
All right.
That's what we're gonna do.
Help
Thank
us.
you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you.
Thank you for being so nice to me and Rob when we were over there.
Oh yeah, of course.
You were fantastic, and you were fantastic here as well. And you definitely have a light inside of you, and you're helping a lot of people. I hope you realize that. I hope that gets you out of your, I know your depression is kind of up and down. It's getting better, but just realize that you really are helping a lot of people because there's a light inside of you.
Thank you so much. That was so sweet.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Starseed Imparts.
Yes, Starseed Imparts.
Oh, there's one no S in Starseed.
No.
Starseed Imparts.
Yes.
On YouTube. So check that out. It's a great podcast. Leah, thank you for not having me on. Thank you. Leah, thank you for having me on my podcast.
You're so welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. What a great host you've been.
Oh, okay, I'm going to blush. Stop it. All right, thank you.